You know video games are got trends? Well, here's a thematic trend. First-person shooters are always popular and often lead the trends, followed shortly up by RPGs. BPM, bullets per minute, jumped on the current Viking trend that's going about, but can 3 games be classed as a trend? I don't know, but what I can say is that this game is rooted in a few genres and it does create an interesting combination. BPM Bullets Per Minute is a roguelike first-person shooter music and rhythm game set to the Norse mythological setting that's currently going about. So let's talk about it. So first and foremost, I want to start with the specs. This is a two-tailed reason. Firstly, it's called Tradition. Secondly, this game asks for a lot. Let me show you. Minimum requirements are an Intel Core i5 4598 or equivalent with a GTX 960, 2GB of VRAM and 8GB of system RAM. The recommended is an Intel i7, that's it, RTX 2060 3GB or equivalent and 16GB of system RAM. Dear viewer, I jest you not. The recommended specifications do that much of a jump and get that vague. I don't know if it was the developers or Steam, but that GPU skipping a whole generation and Intel i7 leaves an abyss of confusion. There's 10 generations of i7 processors. But composure's key, so let's move on. I'm really sorry about the harsh syllables. It's almost like you're listening to something from ASMR. I don't exactly have the best pop filter. Apologies. Now, as you know, we're using the Intel Core i7 7700K with the GTX 1080 and 32GB of RAM. So we have the i7 and we've got middle GPU, kind of on the higher SKU. What I'll say about my setup in comparison to the recommended specs is, it's fine. But what about the performance? The performance is excellent. I can achieve all 144 FPS my monitor is capable of, sometimes. The game does like to throw as many enemies as it can into really small rooms and sometimes that can cause the FPS to dip. But let's be honest, anything over 72 FPS is actually perfect. The game remains playable and the room stays really toasty because this thing does cause my PC to kick up a lot of heat. Sometimes it can take a bit to load, but I've never really had any issues with it crashing. By taking a bit to load, I do mean that sometimes it can fail to launch, but a little quick trip down to the task manager and relaunching the game fixes that. Now I feel it's worth pointing out that the game does look stunning. Sans filters. Everything looks like it fits. The halls and the rooms of Asgard help, with the grand scale of things. It does look amazing. Provided you turn the filter down a bit because, dear God, this thing is swimming in the thickest filter. It's like a model on Instagram. Take away the filters, it'll be perfectly fine. The whole first level is basically red. There's this huge red filter over everything. It looks alright without the filter, and it does look okay with the filter turned up, although turn it down a little and it should be fine. The second stage, Vanaheim, that's just a brown filter. It's kind of like somebody's come up and just shit in your eyes, but just do yourself a favour and turn the filters down or off if you really can't handle it. And story wise, if I told you that once again this was another game with a premise and very little story, you'd notice a trend. It's true though, you're a Valkyrie with a gun. You traverse a maze of stages and enter little mini arenas to destroy the creatures and rack up a score with a multiplier, make some gold, find some keys, get some loot. Each room does have a door or sometimes multiple that will unlock upon beating the room, where you can progress to the next room to rinse and repeat until you fight a boss. Beat the boss, move realm, back to square one. It's actually really simple and it's the easiest part of the game. Well, let's actually talk about something harder though, because that was basically the story. BPM is short for beats per minute. Anyone with a standard high school education could have told you that. So what's BPM bullets per minute? You shoot to the beat. There's a synth-like guitar that just wails in the background throughout every level and it's almost like it's been tortured, and all you do is you shoot to the beat that's donated on the crosshair. You're essentially the percussion in this, you're your own drummer, but shooting to the beat would be easy. You also dodge to the beat and reload to the beat, which means you have to do every action of a reload every time. If you have a revolver, you are manually reloading every shot into the chamber. Now you do get better guns and good buffs as you go along. You can find little statues where you toss a coin to it and get a buff and a stat, or find an armor piece that gives you no armor. But it does give you some major buffs and even spell books behind locked doors with some interesting powers. Some buffs are definitely better than others and some can be bought through the shops. More ammo per mag, better luck because that's the stat, more speed and a whole host of other goodies just to make the game easier. The speed, however, there is such a thing as going too fast, so you want to be careful with that stat. As I said, you will move from realm to realm and take out bosses. 4 realms in total, and you can also change your Valkyrie in the start menu. Each one of them has a different gun and different stats that it starts with, and you will soon find your favourite. Either way, the game plays exactly the same each time. I should mention whilst I'm here, bunny hopping is a great way of building speed outside of fighting, so if you're looking to speedrun, bunny hopping's possible. Let's move on to some little miscellaneous tips and such. Each boss is different, and due to whatever gun you have and how hard the RNG may or may not have shafted you, they can be quite difficult. Remember that everything is to the beat, and with all bosses having many attacks, that includes some area of effect ones, you may find the first boss a bit of a challenge. This game is a game that requires a little bit of practice. In just under 7 hours, I can easily say I have not managed to complete this game even once. It is a real one and done type run, so when you do end up getting beat so far, if you maybe clocked in say half an hour, then that half an hour you're going to go back to the start. You may just give up. What you will always remember those bosses' patterns, and that's going to be important. It's always going to be the bosses that really shaft you in the end, and you'll also be able to find which gun is best for you and which gun isn't. You do progressively get better at this game, and that's perfect because each boss is unique and their areas are thematic and fit with them, and their types of attacks as well. You're going to learn about their AoE attacks and such, and once all that goes through and you've actually mastered certain bosses, you can actually just run in and gun them down in about maybe a minute or two, which is just great. Fuck me. I won't lie though, I'm struggling here to deliver any type of sage advice, so let's just move swiftly on to the scores. Overall, BPM bullets per minute is great. You can easily sink a few hours in it here and there and still feel fulfilled. So let's move on to the numbers. Performance 9, premise 10, gameplay 9, overall 9.3. Pretty high score. The performance is solid in my rig and I've had no issues other than the one I've told you about. Everything else I've had no issues that actually had to be patched or worked around. Even the FPS drops, they can be managed, they don't linger, it's maybe one room. Frankly, the only reason it isn't a 10 is because sometimes it does that initial fail to launch and Task Manager sorts that. I did take a look into Task Manager and it does appear to be the case that the game just hangs and becomes unresponsive, and you can wait it out. It's completely, you can wait it out, but I just close it down because it's quicker. As far as the premise goes, it's certainly unique, blending a first-person shooter and rhythm-based combat beautifully to make a challenging experience that you can just easily jump in and out of the moment you die. Only thing you could really ask for is to use your own MP3s. Bang on a wee bit of Venga Boys, a wee bit of BGs, whatever you want. I think it'd be really hilarious. It does also hold true for the gameplay though. These two are intrinsically entwined to the gameplay and the premise. You can do any game theme and any weapon. You can do it with knights and swords, Native Americans and bows, but I don't think it'd be as fun. And at the end of the day, isn't that why we play games? For fun. Anyway troops, that's it for me. I'm not going to tell you to like, I'm not going to tell you to comment, I'm not going to tell you to subscribe. It's a free world, but I hope you have a fucking smashing week. Enjoy. Anyway shaggers, that is it for me. Thank you very much for watching. Didn't comment, didn't rate, didn't subscribe, because I'm not going to tell you what to do, but enjoy the rest of your day. Catch you.